Author, musician, speaker, Justin Osmond loves proving people wrong. When doctors said he would never play a musical instrument due to being born 90% deaf, he learned to play 4 of them at scholarship level. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, your father, lead singer of the Osmonds, right?
That's right, Merrill.
Merrill.
Merrill's my dad, yeah.
And you're born with a 90% hearing loss.
What?
With this, you're born, yeah. You nailed me. You got me. You got me. So what's that like?
You know, being born into a world-renowned family.
Yes.
You know, we're a little bit country, we're a little bit rock and roll.
Yes.
But we're a little bit of classical music too, like
yes,
you said.
That's right.
I play the violin and the viola and things like that. And like you said, a lot of doctors and professionals told me that I couldn't because of my profound hearing loss. And
what age were you when they were telling you that? How old were you?
So I was growing up. I mean, all the way, you know,
Okay.
through elementary school, middle school, as long as I can remember, really.
So they were telling you that from a very young age?
Pretty much, yeah. But what a lot of people don't know is I was diagnosed when I was about 2 years old.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, for 2 years, I lived in a world void of sound.
Yeah.
You know, completely quiet. And then all of a sudden they put these hardware devices in my ears. And then, you know, you would think I'd light up like a Christmas tree, but it was kind of scary for me.
Yeah.
And I was kind of in my own little comfort zone of quiet. And even though I'm in a musical family, there's music all around me, I couldn't hear any of that. And so it was quite a change. You know, it was quite difficult growing up. But I came from a very wonderful family. I had a wonderful, strong support, but I also had a wonderful family that taught me to believe in a higher source, you know, God, and that He created ordinary people that can do extraordinary things. And everybody fits in that category.
So your faith played a major role in this.
Absolutely, yeah. And our family and putting God first, and that, you know, everybody's created equal.
Yeah.
And I believe that He gives us things that reflects what He knows about us and what we need to make us stronger and better.
Kristi, does he just say this stuff or does he live this?
You know what? When we were dating, I wondered that. I'm like,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
he
come
all
on.
talk or is he really walk the walk? But no, it really is his motto. And the more you tell him he can't do something, the more he will prove you wrong, that he will absolutely do it and do it 10 times better than the average person, even if he has to work twice as hard to get there. It's actually really inspiring to be married to him, to be able to see how that works. Like, I still ask him questions. How does that work in your brain? Because the average person doesn't think that way.
You just said something is incredible. It's inspiring to be married to him.
Yes.
How many wives say that?
It should be the other way around. She's my rock. She's the one that keeps me going. But goes both ways. So.
Yeah.
Was there a point in your process, you seem like a humble guy, so I don't think you're going to answer my question maybe. Was there a point when you're learning all of these different instruments that you said, see, I showed you I could? Do you remember a point where you proved to them that you...
Yes, yeah. So if you can just imagine, you know, all my siblings, you know, they've got the normal hearing and they're playing the piano and the violin and the cellos and they've got the golden throat. You know, I have a deaf accent and that's okay. But I'm the type of guy where I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a remedy around this. And so what I did, I'll never forget, I was practicing my violin one morning and my siblings were all loud on their instruments. So I turned my hearing aids off, right?
Yeah.
So that gets rid of one problem.
Yeah.
I can't hear them.
Can't hear them, yeah.
Right? But then I put my violin next to my cheekbone and I started to play, and all of a sudden I could hear the vibration, the sound, the conduction, the conductive vibration sending the sound to my brain. And all of a sudden I could hear myself playing the violin, not by hearing it, but by feeling it.
Wow.
And so that's how I learned to play the violin and the viola and the drums and even the piano. And I know that's how Beethoven learned how to play too, through the vibrations of the sound. And so there's a great quote. It says that where an ordinary man finds an excuse, a courageous man finds a way.
Wow.
And I'm not saying I'm courageous, but I wanted to find a way. I really wanted to be like my siblings or like my dad. And I'm stuck with a musical family. But I wanted to at least play something, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I want to stop on that note, and we got more when we come back, but we do have to take a break. We'll be right back right after this. We've been talking with Justin and Kristi Osmond about how nothing is impossible. Now, Justin, you recently did something else that some people would think was impossible, running 250 miles to raise money. Tell me, what did you do?
Let me rephrase that. A lot of people didn't say that it was impossible. They said it was kind of crazy.
All right, I'll go with crazy.
Okay.
I'll go with
And
crazy.
that's what my wife said anyway.
Well, and she's a wise woman. So, but you ran 250 miles in a week in order to raise money.
In a week.
That's correct. So if you really kind of put that in perspective, that's about 35, 40 miles a day.
A day.
For 7 days, which is about 10 marathons back to back. Now, you're right, it's crazy, but you know, I'm not a big runner, really, to be honest
you
with
are now.
Well, I guess I am now, but really, I guess what it was is I wanted to run for hearing. I wanted to run to make a difference.
Yeah.
And I knew that there were 25 deaf children on the other side of Utah that needed some hearing aids.
Right.
And I remember coming home one day and I told my wife, I said, hey, hon, I want to run 250 miles across the state of Utah to help these kids raise some money, raise some awareness, and to help these
And
kids.
I said no.
All right. You said no emphatically, right?
Yes, I did.
And you see how that worked out.
Yeah, exactly. See?
Yeah.
But remember, when someone says I can't do it, what does that happen? That drives me to want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so I convinced my wife, I said, look, I'll put together a training schedule, and I'll try to prep myself and get ready for that. So the day came, and we identified 25 deaf kids that needed some hearing aids really badly. And so for me,
Did they know you were running for them?
yeah, they did. They were all at the finish line waiting. And really why I did it was someone gave me a chance to hear. Someone gave me a chance to be able to speak. Because I went through 12 years of speech therapy, listening therapy, comprehension therapy. And so I wanted to somehow, in a small way, pay it forward. And so knowing that there were 25 kids waiting for me at the finish line, oh my goodness, my sweetheart was there every step of the way, and so many blisters on my feet.
I would imagine
Well,
blisters were
Did you
crazy.
run like, did you give yourself a break through the day? Did you run 35 miles nonstop or run for a few hours and take a break or?
The problem was if he took a break, he would get stiff, and so he wouldn't really be able to take a break. So he kind of did, but he couldn't really take too long of one or he wouldn't be able to keep going. He also got injured on the second day. He had blisters like crazy. We thought he'd have to cancel, but he's like, no, those kids are relying on me. I
my
can't
goodness.
not do it.
Yeah.
Because, what do I do to tell them, nope, sorry.
Yeah.
I remember one day, I was on I think it was right around my 200th mile, and I'm just in so much pain, and the hardest part was getting up every morning.
Yeah.
Keep running another 40 miles, But I'll never forget, and I always get a little emotional on this, but one of the 25 boys came and gave me a big old hug, and he said, thank you for running so I can get a new pair of hearing aids.
Wow.
And that right there, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I became the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
And I just ran all the way to the
Bless
end.
your heart.
But, when you love something so much and you're so passionate about something, nothing stops you.
Nothing.
Do
you plan on doing another run, or are there other things you do to help? He's not doing that again. Okay, decision made, you're not doing it.
Well, I kind of went into a coma after that.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, about
And
right.
So the recovery was quite right. But one of the hardest things I have ever done to this point in my life, but one of the most rewarding.
That's good.
So.
Well, I want to shift gears a little bit. I mean, you've done some incredible things in your life, but there's a story between the two of you that I'd like to explore as well here. So, Kristi, how did you meet this guy?
So part of his charity that he started, one of the fundraisers that they did is they actually did 5K runs, which is the most I've ever run, by the way. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went
So hard.
and participated.
yeah.
I can do those. I can
Yeah.
I can do 10 of those back to back maybe.
Yeah.
But he did one of those in Arizona where I was living, and I got so sick the night before, thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, but I'd talked my friends into running with me.
So you had to do it.
And so they said, no, you can't bail on us. So I had to go. And then once I got there, I had no intention of running. And I saw him and I'm like, okay, I'm running.
Yeah, is that right?
And that helped get his attention, I think.
Okay.
And what would you do? Single guy, see a beautiful blonde.
Yeah,
single,
come on.
So you ran
I'm gonna
together?
run after that.
Yeah.
You kind of
That's
ran the
right.
course together then?
No, we just talked after. One of my friends ended up with one of the best times for the women's division, and so she went up to get her picture with him and wanted us to go with him, and so he started, sparking
Yeah.
up a conversation, and the rest is history.
So there was a spark immediately then, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
there really
yeah.
was.
Did you know who
that's
he
cool.
was?
No, I didn't really actually. No.
that right?
I mean, I'd heard the name obviously,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it didn't really register, and if anything, it was kind of a deterrent, to be honest. But
Oh, is
that's
that
another
right?
story for another
He's
day.
such a nice guy.
He
Yeah,
is.
come on.
I'd run with him too.
That was what I was impressed by.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
And so when did you get married?
So we got married through, October of
2013.
2013.
It's better than
You
me.
had to look. Usually it's the other way around. The man looks at the wife and says, "When did we get married?"
Yes.
But you looked at him.
Yeah, I'm like, over 3
This
years
is
ago.
impressive.
Here's why I wear hearing aids where I can hear what she's thinking. So
I
that's how I know.
All right. On that note, I'm going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Lifestyle Magazine will be right back.
Justin and Kristi Osmond have had some incredible challenges in their marriage, and we're talking about some of those right now. One of those challenges, though, after you got married, you wanted children. But that didn't seem to be in the cards. Kristi, you've had some miscarriages?
Yeah, so we'd been married late in life and decided, let's get started on
Have the
having a
kids
family
now.
right away.
Yeah.
And we ended up miscarrying pretty soon after we got married, and then a year later we miscarried again. I had actually had miscarriages previously and had struggled with infertility for 15 years before Justin and I had even met.
How long did you think you were pregnant before you had the miscarriage?
It was always early on,
Early
so
on.
always between 8 and 12 weeks I would always end up miscarrying.
See.
And it was the most heartbreaking, excruciating, painful experience either of us had ever gone through. To be able to have that hope and to think
Yeah.
you're starting your family
And then boom.
and to have it be taken from you. I almost think it might be easier to not get pregnant in the first place, except that, that's not easy either. I've gone there too.
And then people don't know how to relate to you. My wife and I
Yeah.
had similar challenges and miscarriage, and it's like you're losing a person, you know.
Yes.
But people don't know how to. They don't know. They just kind of leave you alone. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. Almost, they don't shun you, but it feels weird.
Yeah, well, and they say, oh, it's a miscarriage, and they think
Yeah, like
it's
it's no
not a
big
big
deal.
deal.
Yeah,
it is a
But
big
it is
deal.
a horrible, horrible tragedy. I mean, it was
Yeah.
very devastating.
And we both come from big families.
Yeah.
And they're all having kids, and here we are like, oh, come on,
Yeah.
this isn't fair,
Yeah.
And we could have gotten very bitter from this, but we were like, you know what, let's put our trust in the Lord and not get bitter, but let's just stay better, and something will come out of this.
Yeah.
So we had talked about, okay, let's try IUI, let's try IVF, surgery. So we did everything. We really did. We tried every route. And when we did IVF and then we found out we were pregnant, we were so excited and thinking, this is it. And then we miscarried again.
No. Oh.
And in that process, when we'd miscarried, I was so devastated. You've got the hormones and everything that are going on with that. But I remember in the middle of the night having a dream or a thought, I'm not exactly sure what to call it, come to me. And it was one of those, scriptures that came to mind. It was, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him and he shall direct thy paths.
You're emotional as you're repeating
It
that.
is, because I remember waking up the next morning and feeling like I don't know how, but I know it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the plan's going to roll out, but it's going to be okay. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's cool about going through struggles, and one of the things I appreciate about Justin with his struggles, is you realize that those challenges are painful and difficult. But there's a reason you go through them, and there's a tenderness of your heart that happens when you go through them that helps you to rely on him and to have him show you a much better plan, which was way better than we could have planned for ourselves on the outcome that we have now.
What was that plan?
So we had decided that after doing IVF, if it wasn't successful, that we would then start the adoption process.
Wonderful.
And
And I never thought in a million years I would be at this point. I was scared to death and but we plunged forward. And
Were you scared of the adoption process?
Yeah.
Scared of becoming a dad, or what?
no, I was ready to be a dad.
Okay.
I wanted to be a dad so bad, and it was in my dreams.
Yeah, but it was the adoption process.
It was. The whole adoption thing was, it's uncharted territory for me. I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but we pressed forward with that faith, and we jumped in there together. And so we got ourselves out there, and then all of a sudden, 2 kids come along.
Well,
Two kids.
You say all of a sudden, but that had to take some time. There's a process with adoption. How long did that take?
So we started the process in December, and then it took several months for the whole process to take place. We'd put ourselves out there, and it's a very vulnerable process to put yourself out there. You have this profile, and everyone and anyone can see it, and people that you don't really care to know all of your life information now has it online somewhere.
Yeah.
And so to be contacted by a birth mom is like, it's kind of like online dating, we decided.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like one of those, are we going to hear back from her?
Yeah, that's
is
right.
she interested? Is she not? And
Yeah.
it's a really kind of funny process. So you have to make light of it. You have to laugh and have
You
fun
better,
with it.
yeah.
But it was a daunting process. But several months later, we ended up being able to be matched and being able to have 2 beautiful baby girls. And
Wonderful.
we'd always laughed and said, maybe we're miscarrying, and maybe because maybe we're going to have twins, maybe we're going to have 2 later. And that was
Yeah.
kind of the story we'd tell
Gonna have
ourselves
twins.
just to make ourselves feel better at the moment.
So now you've got 2 sisters, right?
Yep.
The 2 twins. And what is that experience like for you?
I'm finally part of the dad club. I love it. And,
Congratulations.
oh, thank you. It was hard to leave him at home today.
I would
know,
imagine.
We just miss him already, and just a lot of prayers were answered, and a lot of wonderful support, and it's the best feeling in the world, just having 2 little angels in our home.
As you're talking about this, I see the same smiles on your faces that I see on birth parents when they've tried to have a child and finally one comes. I see that on your faces. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. And it's cool too. I think it was nice to be able to be there for the births and to be able to feel the emotion with that, and to know
You were there for the birth.
Yeah, we were.
That's
We were there
awesome.
for the births.
That is
and
awesome.
it was really cool to be able to experience that parenthood and that emotion. That I think that was what we were nervous about, is will we feel that,
Yeah.
if we're not going through that experience ourselves. But we just as much went through that. And they say, pregnant in your hearts, and that's exactly what adoption
That
is.
is awesome.
It's pregnancy in your heart.
That is awesome. We'll be back with a final word right after this.
There's more Lifestyle Magazine coming up.
Obie and Charmony are joining us now as we continue our conversations with Justin and Kristi. And Justin, off camera, you shared with me an observation of your admiration for the birth mother. Tell us about that, would you?
Yeah, we had a really neat experience where we experienced unconditional act of love coming from the birth mom. I mean, imagine giving up their child, so that they could have a better life. And of course, that was such a blessing in our life to be able to start our own family. But just witnessing that act of love from the birth mom was it really touched us.
You spoke of
so
that as
deeply.
courageous.
Oh, yeah.
This is unconditional love because her children can have a better life with you.
Yeah,
And I love it because this is such a story of hope. There's so many people that struggle with fertility every day now, and hearing your message and the joy that you have now is just beautiful.
What would you tell them?
Well, don't give up, of course, and God has a plan for everybody. Come what may, and love it.
Yeah.
Kristi, you've always wanted to give birth to a child. Does this satisfy you?
It does. It does.
Good.
I-
You're
I-
emotional as you're
I
saying that. I
am.
can hear the voice cracking as you're saying that.
It's the same to me. And I worried about that, but it really is the same to me. I feel like that they are ours, and they were always meant to be ours. And I know that, one of those things that as much as the pain and exquisite trauma that we went through to get here, on the flip side of that, we have way much more joy and happiness that have come on this side of it. So I feel like that's something that relates to every challenge, is that when you're in the middle of it, it stinks. It's awful.
Especially
like
when you don't
nobody
understand
likes
it.
it,
Even
right?
when you don't understand it.
Yeah. And you don't get it. You
don't
don't
get
know
it.
why you're going through it. But on the other side of it, once you're through that, if you endure it well, then on the flip side of it, you see the blessings that come from it, and that we now understand why we had to go through what we went through. And so it makes it all the more joyous and all the more heart-wrenching in a good way, where we had heart-wrenching in a negative way before.
Thank you so much for being here, for
Thank
sharing
you
your
for
story
having
with
me.
us. And thank you for being a part of this one as well. We look forward to seeing you again next time, but until then, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Lifestyle Magazine. We look forward to being with you again.